Livia JAROKA, coming from Hungary, taking back the seat you didn't get at the real election, but now you are back in Parliament. You were here for 10 years, 2 terms you were running. What brought you back?
Challenges, I think. So when I heard that I'm invited again, I was happy because I was thinking, okay, there are so many things that I would like to fix, so now is the time. I used to work a lot on Roma and minorities. I still keep on going, and I went back to academia, so I have a new idea how to speed up the integration. And I have 6 other points for Roma inclusion and inclusion in usual.
You're welcome. First, Romas.
First,
Second.
Romas, yes, but I'm going to tell you all this. But at the same time, I was thinking, yes, my dossier also becomes different now because of the migration issue. So it puts a challenge on it. I think I have a lot to say on what integration really is and how to achieve. I think I have a lot to say on human rights as well. But beside the migration, women issues will be important for me, and especially health issues. I would like to work much more on cancer, on all the aspects of cancer, not only the healing, but also the rehabilitation, and also the diagnosis has.
Why especially that?
Because I feel that every single family is affected. And in Eastern Europe, we don't have yet the institutions that can help even children if they are in this situation very quick. So I think in Hungary it's needed that I work more on children with very serious illnesses, because I see there is more to do on infrastructure.
What are you doing concrete there?
Now I'm building a house, a hygiene house, for those children with cancer, who are not going in Hungary, who are not going to die, but who are going to hopefully live. And also I have plans to make sure that they can study, because living in Hungary now for 2 years and going around in Europe, I have seen that other countries do it better. They make sure that the children are integrated in the education system at least, or at least they study, if they can, in these 2-3 years sometimes, while a child is taken away from life when an illness hits the family. So I think there should be more done in integrating them back to the normal society.
But if
so my life is always about integration, you see.
But if they get rid of the cancer, that's wonderful. But if they don't, where does their childhood stop, where you're taking care of them, and who is then taking over?
That's the other question, you see, because we had some stories this year in the field when people had to move to Budapest to be able to be with their children in the last hours or in the last months. So I think it's very, very important that every single city in Hungary gets a hygiene house like this, where they can say goodbye in a...
But I'm not only focusing on the last moment, but if they leave the childhood and getting grown up.
Oh, I see what you mean.
That's not your system then who is taking care of them. Who will?
If they are grown up and if they are healed?
Yeah, they're still ill.
You mean concerning the cancer, or
yeah.
you mean concerning the integration of back to the
Both,
new life,
actually.
I mean?
Both, actually.
Yes, you are right. I think we have not enough civil organizations where you can join yourself in to make sure that you have a company of people who are in the similar situation as you are. So there are a lot to change, and in the last 2 years I also learned that it's not always the civil organizations on whom I should count, because my Roma dossier was very much focusing on the civils as well, if you remember. And in the end it turned out that governments, mayors, leaders can do much more, not mentioning the companies. Because all these integration issues that we are talking about here now, education, work, even after a serious illness, or only when you are born into it, these both of them has a lot to do with the spaces created, and I think government has to take care of making sure that these structures are done. so then individuals can join in. But the other way around, it doesn't go. I learned it from myself that individuals, I opened up a foundation, but it's extremely difficult to change the system. So also as an MEP, instead of course, giving voice to the civils, that was always the mission in the parliament for me. So I'm going to keep on continuing, but I will be much more focused on actually bilateral talks to leaders, but even in the villages. Now, this is what I did.
How is the state acting towards your plans and your ideas? Are you backed up by the state?
Very much, because the things that I have been doing in the last 2 years, opening up schools, opening up these little entities where people can find jobs, where people can rely on each other, I think there must need to be much more done on age solidarity. So I think, for example, the integration programs would work much better if I didn't focus on different age groups for different programs, but I created programs where all the age groups are involved. This is what I wasn't aware of. So the other 6 things that you were asking me, what am I going to do? I want to also change the Roma dossier into bigger, into scaling it up. First of all, not to be named a Roma strategy, because it's 111 million people, as I see now, who is very poor in Europe. There is also a huge number of those who are almost on the way to make it, but because of mortgage, of illness, a chaos suddenly in their life stops them on the way. So for example, for those crisis prevention things, it would be also important for me to focus, because I was happy with the Roma strategy, but I can now see how long does it take to get one step done. So I thought that for the Roma, I will never have to come back to the European Parliament, because 10 years should be enough to make the countries act.
But can you bring in some of these dreams of what you wish to do? Can you bring that into the European Parliament? Of
course I will. I'm ready to write the reports that are needed to be written to persuade the Council to make the changes, because what I just told you about the inter-aging approach, I mean that involving everybody from different ages, because there are different needs also. Just to tell you, to make it easier for the viewers to understand. For example, in a house like this, where we have the children who are being cured.
The one you have in Hungary?
In Hungary. I make sure that there are elderly people working in the kitchen, that even much younger people are working already to learn in. I have not only doctors, but I have also young helpers who are studying to be doctors. So when bringing in other age groups, you bring in a new aspect as well. And just having the elderly in my project, we got wisdom suddenly.
But that means that you will bring in what you want to achieve in Hungary on a general EU basis.
Because this is where this is where I piloted it. I did these projects to pilot them for the EU, to learn how to integrate a migrant or a Roma. So that's why I opened up schools, for example, also to learn, sports schools, many, to make sure that the process is shown. I can show it to people, I can video it, I can prove that it's happening. So that's why I changed a lot around the Roma strategy also, for example, using digitalization. The digital world is around us. We could do monitoring in a minute. Everybody has iPhone. And just if you allow me, just one more thing. And also the 5th element that will be new is when opening up big factories, it's extremely important for me to use the resources that are already there. When I designed the Roma strategy, almost all the things that I asked for were things which are completely missing. Good teachers, good structure, no segregation. But I also learned that at the same time it's extremely important to speed the situation up by bringing together the locals and everybody who is interested in gaining the result. And in these circles, for example, I wasn't aware of the power what the business world can bring into, for example, rehabilitating a Roma settlement. I was thinking, yes, the EU will send the money and the governments will do with the civils. But when working in the field, I saw, yes, here is Mercedes. And next to Mercedes, there is a Roma settlement. So I better talk to the company Mercedes whether they are interested in getting good workforce in the next 10 years.
Livia
So they
Jaroka,
invest better than the EU.
You are here for 1.5 years.
Yes.
Will you run again in order to achieve what you are starting up by writing a report?
I haven't told you about the sixth element yet, and this comes now. I have to push much more the leadership education among the Roma, like my group, but also among the youth. And this makes me believe that I don't have to come back in 1.5 years, because I will have good young leaders coming out from under my hands, who will be able to push this dossier on the European level as well.
But being an MEP puts attention to your name.
Yes.
And that might be helpful, or?
Also, of course, that's what I was hoping, and also my real weapon, you know, being in compromisum and constant talk with the other groups, because it was wonderful to see how the colleagues reacted to my return, and I was very happy about that.
Final question. The general attitude, you know all about it, towards Roma is not, let me put it carefully, positive.
And hasn't been changing for the good. That very much surprises me, you see. Even in Western countries, I talk to a lot of colleagues to see what the situation now, or how they see now. And you see, we have all this big strategy, all the money around, all the governments are ready to act, hopefully, and still we see that the Roma are not living up to the momentum. So there is a lot to do on this. That's why I say that leadership is extremely important. And that's why I say that I might not come back later on to the EU, because I have a lot to do in the member states, in the field, helping the leaders to achieve and helping them to find partners, because that's the other problem. Not only that we didn't count on the resources that we have at the regions. For example, in many of the settlements, I have huge water capacity under the ground. And I was so crazy not to count on this in many of the countries. The rehabilitation of the settlements would have gone much quicker if I'm thinking of the natural resources and also the human resources that are in the villages.
I thank you and wish you luck.
Thank you so much.